Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7, and today we're a little late talking about the new SC coming, which should hopefully pop up the screen. We also have an ML summon we'll do right away too. And JP spoiled it on Twitter. They posted like, I'm going to change the world with my music, and instead of a silhouette, they're like, haha, it's me, Rima. They show the old Rima though. We don't know what the new one looks like, but we do know it is Rima, unless JP is just trolling, which is, you know, it's a slight possibility, but let's be real, it's Rima. So we're gonna look at her stats in a second. First off, what we're going to do is summon a Gunther, and then we'll go do our thing. Is it in here? Yeah, there we go. So step 1, Gunther. Step 2, close. Step 2, let's go to the journal and take a look at Rima. That's why I don't record them. That's always a 3-star. I've never had 5 stars from those. So Rima is a ranger, and I've looked at Rima a lot because I love bards. Bards are always like my favorite character types in any sort of RPG. But there's always a problem, you know, with these 3 stars. There's always a problem. So first off, let's look at her stats, because that's actually pretty important. And she has interesting stats because they're actually quite good for a 3-star. If we look at her awakened 6-star stat, she has 117 base speech. So she's actually like ballin' fast. Really fast for a 3-star especially. I actually don't know any that are faster. I'm sure there are. Y'all are like, ha 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 ha, but really fast, okay? But we can see one problem with this skill set, and this is something that's a problem with so many units in this game, and you can immediately tell she is going to have problems because of this. Not her low attack, it's not her low health, it's not her defense, it's because she has 27% base crit rate. Which means not only is she, in quotes, wasting some stat points that she desperately needs as a 3-star, it also means she's probably going to have some function of required crit in her build to function right. Combining that with the low base stats makes it really hard to build units like this. So that's the first thing I noticed from here, but otherwise 117 speed has huge potential if they do this right, and they can actually make this character amazing IMO. So first off, we see what requires the critical hit. It's a 1 turn skill cooldown retake. Give me 10 seconds. Take 2. So we have our skill 1 here. It's quick shot. It is a critical hit will decrease the caster skill cooldown by 1 turn. That is not so great, but it is what it is, you know. It's not a bad thing, but I think this is the problem with her skill set and why she hasn't really been used, because she doesn't really have a functional skill 1. It's not something you really want on a skill 1, and it's not something that like super duper helps. Even in PvE, it doesn't really help because there's no debuffs. So that is a big problem here. And it also, if you actually want to use this, requires you to build extra crit instead of durability, which is something you really would like. Her skill 2 is a lullaby arrow, which is a 75, 85, 100% chance to sleep for 1 turn. And it can grant her an extra turn. Does cost 20 souls though, which I think is a little too much. But does let them skill 2 into skill 3 if they want, or it lets them skill 2 to try to lower the cooldown on her skill 3. So you can skill 2, get an extra turn to lower the cooldown on skill 3, and then try to crit and get another skill cooldown so it's up next turn. That's the general idea between the skill 1 and skill 2 there. And skill 3 is obviously her bread and butter, and what I hope they make usable here, it is encourages all allies except for the caster, decreasing skill cooldowns by 3 turns. Now this is a very powerful effect, and the longer the game goes on, the more powerful it gets. Just like Isaria, you never know who comes out to make something like that just absolutely amazing. So there's a couple problems you need to solve with this character. One, if you're going through PvE, you have to find a way to either extend debuffs or add debuffs or do something like that. Number two, if you want to use her for PvP, you have some sort of better manipulation, either CR on your side or debuffs or lockdown, better lockdown than just a one-turn sleep or something like that. So the number one thing I think they can do to make her not only viable but amazing is attach combat readiness to Warhim. I think that's a pretty simple solution to make her extremely useful. Like, it'll be really, really, really useful if they give this combat readiness. We already have combat readiness and attack buff. We already have combat readiness and crit damage. We already have combat readiness and crit rate. We have a lot of things, but we don't have combat readiness and skill cooldown reduction, which would just be insane. It would actually make her amazingly viable. And specifically for situations like, imagine my lot situation where I ox lots, do some stuff, then lots it up and do some stuff again. It works really well with Landy because she can cycle her skill 3 so much. But imagine if you use it on somebody who can't cycle their skill 3 that has a really powerful one. So this is the number one thing I want, and I think it's the only thing I can really think of realistically that makes her viable, and it would make her really, really viable. It doesn't have to be 80 to 100% combat readiness, but it has to be more than like 30. I would say like 50% CR at a minimum would be just perfect, just enough to make it like not super overpowered, but super usable in more than one situation. So that's the main scenario, I think, where Rima can be good. I don't think they're going to do that, though, because they seem to like to just ruin the SCs, to be honest. So there's that. But how do they fix quick shot? This is something I've really been thinking about here. Actually, let's talk about this one here. Another thing they could do to make this more viable, I would say specifically for PvE, is to make Warhim affect everybody on the team instead of just one person. So it's AoE instead of single target. Obviously, it wouldn't target herself because that would be ridiculous. But that would be a pretty interesting way to make her usable in a more wide variety of ways. The other thing, too, if you want to make her more supportive, you could have it buff the target. So you could have it give them maybe something really good like invincible or skill nullifier. Like, she is a bard, right? Bards are known to buff, so they could do something like that. They should give her like a morale bonus, like attack or something like that. There's a ton of things it could do, but I don't think a buff like attack is going to do much without like a CR boost ahead of it. As for their skill 1, I don't think there's much they can do here unless they add something, because like they could make it so has a chance to decrease the cooldown by 3 turns even, and it still wouldn't be too great. They could make it like reset the cooldown on Warhim, and it still wouldn't be that great. You know, like it's just that not powerful of an ability. As for her skill 2, it's actually pretty decent. 100% chance to sleep is great, but we just talked about these stats here. And one of the big problems is these stats are rough if you want to build for the crit chance, because you're going to need to get your HP up. You're going to need to get your speed up. You're going to need to get your defense up. You can ignore attack and crit damage, but you're also going to need crit chance. And then if you want to take advantage of her skill 2, you're going to need effectiveness. Alternatively, you can try to dodge getting a lot of effectiveness just to try to hit the low ER targets and try to land it there, like say pop it on a RB or something like that, somebody without too much ER, or like a Kron, but still tough to make that work. Still tough to make that work. So that's about all I wanted to say about Rima. Those are my main ideas. Basically, give her combat readiness and I'll use her everywhere on Warhim. I think that if they did give her it, it'd be like 30%, which I would have to really think about a way to use her. But I'm curious. I love bards. I'm gonna build her. We're gonna try her out, but who knows how good she actually is. Anyways, I'm gonna go get wrecked in RTA. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody.